because you talked about your approach, like the way
Mm-hmm.
you approach things, and so what does that look like? What is your typical approach? Like an artist calls you, says, "Hey, I want you to work on my record. I
Yeah.
want you to record my record," and they give you a date or time or whatever.
Yeah.
What does that process typically look like in summary?
It always starts with a conversation about, like, if I've never worked with the artist before, who are you? Tell me who you are.
Yeah.
Like, there has to be who you are behind this, a personality behind it, and what are you saying?
Mm.
Who are we saying this to?
Mm.
Like, what is, who are you? I hope nobody ever calls me because, oh, I like the sound of your sound.
Yeah.
People say I've created my sound.
Yeah.
And I hope I've never created my sound. I think that would be a disservice to every client. It's not my job to have a sound.
Wow.
It's about the artist and their sound. It's not my vision, it's their vision.
That's
My job as the engineer is to help them realize what it is that they're wanting to do, what they are wanting to say.
Yeah.
It can't sound like me. It can't sound like anything I've done before. It needs to sound uniquely who they are,
Yeah.
and what they are doing. So I stay away from ever wanting or desiring, oh, I've created my sound.
Yeah.
I really hope I haven't, because I have failed.
That's so good.
If that's the case, it's not about me. So the approach is, it's about you as an artist. What are you wanting to do? What is your message, and how do you want to say it?
Mm.
Even with people that I've done 20 projects with.
Yeah.
Every single time before we ever go into the studio, there's multiple conversations about, hey, this is where we're going with this one. This is what's on my heart. This is what we're saying. And it all has to start from there, and then we take it and go, all right, well then, like, how do we get there? How do we get there? Yeah.
Man. So from that point, what is the technical part of that look like? Like, what are you doing in terms of like prep and getting ready for a live recording, say, like with like any artist, Israel or Tasha, and I know, pretty sure every scenario is different. You know what I mean? Every room you walk into is going to have its own challenges to try to figure it out.
Yeah.
But what does that process look like in terms of, like, just aesthetically, like, where you?
So there's some similarities between being in the studio and recording a live project. In fact, when I did my first ever live recording, I had done nothing but spent years of my life in the studio. I didn't know anything but studio. I didn't know how to approach a live recording. So my approach was, I'm going to take everything I do in the studio,
and just
bring the studio to the live event, and we're going to treat it like a big giant studio with an audience. And believe it or not, that's still my approach to a live recording. Like approaching everything with studio quality microphones and mic pre's, and let's create this. So technically speaking, with the live recording, it's a little more involved, because for the most part, the whole thing is happening in one night, as opposed to over the course of several weeks or several months. Everybody is here. We're capturing this all at once. Starts with an input list. Who are the players on that? I'll have a conversation with each individual player.
Wow.
All right, you guys have probably been in rehearsals. What are you bringing for this? What kind of stuff are you bringing? Over the years, I've built up just relationships with a lot of people that I see on a regular basis, and so we're already there. You know how it is when you work with people. And there's a reason you keep working with some of the same people. Sometimes it's not because, you don't prefer anyone else. It's like sometimes, especially when you think just need to gel, you want something that they already know where you're going.
They already know where you're going. It's a conversation. It's an unspoken conversation.
And so, a literal conversation with each person about what they're doing, how we're approaching this, come up with input lists, go back and forth. Does this look right? How is this going to be set up on a live stage? Like, how are we getting that many inputs to us? How is that getting to front of house? How's that getting to monitors? Are we split off from them? Are we sharing gains on some digital pre somewhere? Are we, all of the little technical aspects of that kind of thing, conversations with the front of house and monitor engineer. And so that most of them have become really, really good friends of mine, and the same kind of thing. We kind of anticipate where each other's headed, and because there's some things where we're split off, but there's a lot of things that we have to agree on. What mics we're using, that's going to be the same for all of us. How to best isolate instruments in those situations if needed. Is isolation even that important on this? And so, what's the venue? What's the room that we're going to be in? What's that going to be doing to our sound? That's one of the biggest things with live recordings. The room that you're in becomes its own instrument. There's with ambience and knowing how to treat those. How much is the room a part of this recording? As opposed to just the crowd and the audience response a part of this recording. The room and the audience are two different things.
That's a good point. I never heard anybody put that in context, that the room is like an instrument.
It really is.
That's so good.
And it can be in a very good way to your advantage, or it can be like something you have to overcome if it's not a good situation.
Not a good source. That's so good. So do you prototype any of this stuff like before? Like if I got a recording coming out this time, is it the room, the venue, you've gotten the input list from the artist or from whomever's supplying you that information. How much of that are you kind of prototyping? So, because again, like you said, it has to happen in one night. So what are the steps that you're putting in place to ensure that one night goes off without a hitch?
So it's always different for every live recording, because there are sometimes it's we're going to load in on Monday morning. We're going to be recording rehearsals. We're going to be doing overdubs before with some of the vocals, and we're going to capture a dress rehearsal on a Wednesday night, and we're going to have a full-on recording on Thursday night, and then the real one's on. When you have you're on site even for overdubs after the fact, and you could be on site for 7 days on some of these. Some of them are not. Some of them are, it's someone who is on tour. We're loading in at 6 a.m. The concert's at 7 that night, and we've got to be out by midnight. So it's all happens in one day. So, they're all approached a little different depending on how much time you have. But we'll do as much pre-patching as I can before we leave. So I have my own recording rig that I've built up specifically. I'm still building it. It's not built. I've been years in the process of building this. That is, it's various mic pre's and compression and the way it's just signal flow really that has been built up specifically for the best way to capture a live concert, a live performance inside of a venue. So, having input lists that we've gone over like many times prior to arriving, I'll get in there, a couple of my guys will get in there with me and pre-patch some of this stuff. So when we arrive, it's a matter of connecting, mass connectors on a snake. And so, especially helps if it's just one day on site. When we patch in, hopefully 95% is already there, showing up, and we're ready to go. We're ready to go with it.
So it's something to say about the prep, and I think that's one of the reasons why I asked that, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people watching, and they aspire, and I've never done a live recording. I aspire to one day. But
well, come with me. We're going to do one together. Let's do it.
Do that.
Come on. We'll take everybody.
We'll take everybody because we got to show them this process.
I will show you everything. People always say, hey, show me your secrets. And my response is, I have no secrets.
It's just,
I will show you everything I know.
We could do that. We're definitely gonna show that to you guys. I think it's gonna be amazing. Mixing is a very, very hard art to master. I know because I've been trying to master this art for several years. That is one of the reasons why I do Mix Mondays. It's a learning environment, and every mix that I do, I learn something new. And I've taken everything that I've learned over the years and we have poured it into our mixing templates. Mixing templates are a great starting place, and we have created several templates that allow you to get up and going quickly, and we have created them for Logic Pro X, we have created them for Pro Tools, for Studio One, for Ableton Live, and so many others. So if you're interested in taking your mixing to the next level, or even just getting started, make sure you check out these links down below in the description of this video and grab your template today. All right, back to the show. Yo, thank you for watching that exclusive clip from the Hangout Podcast. We drop these on the channel on Wednesdays, and we appreciate you guys for taking out the time and watching this. If you're interested in seeing more of these exclusive interviews that we have, make sure you check out the playlist over here. If you're interested in taking your production, mixing, or whatever to the next level, make sure you hit the links down below in the description. All right, we'll talk to you guys on the next one. I'm out. Holla at your boy.